Welcome back to the table. Today, Jeremy and I are here to talk about a game that we're both super excited about, I think. This is The Search for Lost Species. This is a sequel to Search for Planet X, which is a game that I absolutely fell in love with.
Yeah, I love this game. And I tell people, not enough people know about this game, that's the thing. It's like, you should get Search for Planet X. That's what we can say in a preview
setup. Sure, you definitely want to. I mean, it's one of the better deduction games I think that I've played. Yeah. It's on another level from deduction games like Cryptid, for example. Right. There's a lot of different ways that you're getting information in these games. Now, Search for the Lost Species builds on Search for Planet X. In that game, you're kind of analyzing the night sky, looking at all the different sectors of space, trying to determine where Planet X is.
Now, you're trying to find animals in this one here, and they have a whole bunch of cards that represent these different animals. So you got these different ones here, and I'm not going to try to pronounce all these because they have some very interesting ones. Although I will say there is an RU flying fox. But other than that, the Zugs monitor, I can read. But then they have the East Septic monkey grasshopper, and then when we get to the 1D wall, so we're just gonna go ahead and tell you that there's several different animals here, and they also have their own conditions which are written on the cards. But this game is driven by an app. You're going to have a board here, but you have an app where you're going to be putting the data. Now, if you play Search for Planet X, this is nothing new. But now there's two different landscapes in here. And as you can see, a landscape is a little bit different than the space map that you had that's a circle from before. So what you're doing in this game is you're going to be inputting which animal you're looking for. And then you're going to decide whether you want to be on this easy map. And then I'm assuming on the opposite side, there's going to be a harder map because I do have a big old pad for both sides. And then you're going to click on that. You're going to use the app, and it's going to give a code. So both people, or you can use the same device, but all people at the table are going to get a code. And then you're going to put that in so that everybody's synced up. And then you'll kick the board of how it's orientated for each person. This is important because you're going to have different mats that kind of represent where you're sitting so that you're orientated properly. Now, I don't want to go too deep into that, but that's kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, and all it can be a little confusing.
Yeah, and all this information will come, all the information that you need to know will come to the app and be added to your paper here. So you'll have a lot to jot down. But we are sitting to the south of the board. And then the next thing you're going to do is decide what kind of level you want to be at. So everybody can kind of set this up for success. Of course, we're using the easier map, but maybe we want the most clues to start out with. And what you're going to do is click on that, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of information. Now, these map pads are going to have 16 spots on them, and there are 5 that are truly empty. When I say truly empty, there's nothing there at all. But then there's also one spot that can be considered truly empty that actually has the animal that you're looking for. And that's where things get tricky. Now, also, you're going to have information about other animals. And there are four different animals in there. So you have the lorry animals that you need to find. And they're going to be in this shape right here, this little shape. So they may be set up like this. They may be set up like that on the board. And what you're doing is you're marking those off. It will tell you what you need to mark off. Then you have the cuscus, okay? I think we got that one right. I think so, the cuscus. The cuscus is these cute little animals here, and then they'll be placed in spots like so. They'll be 1 to 2 spaces apart, and there's 3 of them in the game. Then you have the python, which there's only 1 of, so you got to spot it. And then finally you have the toad, and the toad is adjacent to 2 truly empty spots. Now, the reason why all that's important, all those animals are important, is because you score points according to how much you've located throughout the game. Now, in Search for the Planet X and in this game, you don't win the game just by finding the animal. Right. That kind of triggers the end game, but there's so much more you can score from there.
Yeah, I mean, just like in Search for Planet X, and that was one of the things I loved most about Search for Planet X is, you're trying to find the lost species like Jeremy mentioned. You are. And if you do that, you end the game and you score an amount of points, like 12 points for being the first one to score to find that animal. But as you're playing the game, like Jeremy said, if you can deduce where these animals are at certain points in the game, as this expedition leader moves around the track, you're able to make your own predictions. You're able to report sightings of all of these different animals. And all of these different animals have, like Jeremy said, different rules, different laws. And you're trying to figure those things out. So you might know, if you manage to discover that there was a cuscus here, you know that the other ones are going to be somewhere near that.
Yeah.
Same thing with the lorries. If you can kind of use that little thing to figure out where one is, maybe you can figure out where the other 3 are.
Yeah.
And at those points, you have to try to predict. Of course, it pays off if you predict, because if your sighting is later confirmed and at the end of the game you have these correct sightings, then you're going to score more points. So even if you're not the one that found the lost species, if you have 5 or 6 correct guesses out on the board, that's still a ton of points. Now, this was similar to how things were in Search for Planet X, except you were just placing these markers in the different sectors. Now we've actually got these tiles that completely change up the game from what Planet X was.
Definitely, and it's beautiful visually.
Oh, well, sure.
Search for Planet X was a little dry in the visuals. But let's get into like how you actually take turns here. Now, everything has to do with time. As you move and you take actions, they will cost 1 to 5 times.
Yeah.
So what you can do here is, the first one is move into a town. So what you would do is you would move 1 to 3 spaces and you would end up in a town. You put your town marker there, and now you're in town. Now you can take these cards. These are town cards. They help you out. The people help you out.
And this is something brand new for this one.
This is brand new.
There was nothing like this in Planet X. This is a huge upgrade, I think.
Because it's another way to score points. It actually subtracts from different actions that you take. It allows you to take sighting tokens out of turn. Like those are types
bonus
of
actions, in-game scoring, instant effects, ongoing abilities that can combo. Like there's a ton of cool things you can find in this deck.
Keeping it juicy, keeping it moving. So after that, you move that one spot. That's one time. The next thing you can do is move by foot. You can survey by foot or by boat. You survey by foot, it's going to cost you 3 times, but you can move up to 3 spaces. And what you're doing is you're literally updating that into the app. So as you go into the app, it's going to ask you, hey, this is your turn. It's going to start you out on the map certain where, and you just go ahead and click on it. You tell it what you're doing, and then you also tell it what you're searching for. And that's all the information you give to people, what you're doing and what you're searching for. You don't give people information.
Yeah, the app is not public.
It's not public.
The results are just for you,
So you click on the app, you actually click on the places that you've been, and then you fulfill the requirement once you do, and you can backtrack and move back and forth. You click on it, and it gives you information. Now, you're supposed to write your notes, and you can shorthand them however you want, but you put them over here. So like I searched from 5 to 9. Let's say I don't know where I was on there, but 5 to 9, looking for Lori, and it says that my result is 1. So I would write that down. I wouldn't tell anybody that a Lori is on 1. And then if someone else is taking their turn, and you want to find out what they're doing, you can say that person was searching from 5 to 9.
Right, making
looking
notes
for
like
Lori.
that.
So you're taking notes as it goes along.
There's so much information to track, and watching what other players are doing, like knowing that Jeremy's searching over here for Lori's tells me that maybe he doesn't already know there's a Lori over there. And your sheet, if you can see, it almost has that Sudoku effect, like Search for Planet X did, where as you start to figure out where animals are, you start crossing them off. Like there's only one python. So if you find the python, you know it's there. You know it's not in any of the other tiles. Or if you find, like I said, one of those Loris, you know the other ones are in a pattern next to it. So you can start eliminating information. And the game cascades once you start discovering these things. And usually that is going to be by walking around or by taking the boat. Once you start finding that, you're crossing things off, you're circling things, and you're starting to see what's left, right? As you start to eliminate options, it gets to be that there's only maybe 1 or 2 options left for a certain tile. And that's when the game really becomes interesting because you start to, cascade all your information. However, there is one action that you can just put out a camera, and you can do this just a couple times per game. You actually have to wait until you get to certain time elements, these little markers out here before you get it back. But if you place a camera in a spot, the app just full out tells you who's there. So you can just kind of rely on that. It costs a lot of time, so you're moving way up on this time track, but you're getting a lot of pure information.
So this one says exactly on CT9. It says you have done camera trap, and it says a Lori is on there. So you would literally write that on.
Right, you know exactly what's there. So not only now can you easily confirm that, but it just gives you a lot of information. And because we're actually using a map now, it's not just the night sky. You'll notice that these have different images on them. There's swamps, there's hills, there's forests, and there's these mountain tokens. This opens up the game for a variety of different clues now because it might say, oh, well, there's only one of each animal in forests. So if I found one Lori in a forest, I know that this forest won't have a Lori because of these clues. And of course, you're getting clues from coming, you're doing research. The app is giving you all of this information. So the app is actually, I think, quite vital for this game. You couldn't really play without it because it sets up just a completely random set of information so that every game you play is going to be completely different, and all of these animals are going to be in different places every time you play as well.
Let's just talk about how you start to confirm things. So once you pass this little expedition token guy here, there's some markings on here that tell you, hey, now it's time to start guessing what you're doing. So you have these little player boards. Behind this, you're going to keep your sheet so nobody can see it, but you also have tokens for each animal. Now, what's going to happen is you can take 0 to 2 tokens and you place them on spots where you think they're going to be. We all do this. We all have them upside down so nobody can see what you're doing. But on top of that, you are going to mark with whatever it says here for sightings, because in future feature rounds, so this one here, I put it down for site 1, but it's going to evaluate when we get all the way to here when it's at 3. So they have markers for the big number. And you could even mark if you think you know where it is. But everybody's going to be marking stuff. He'll mark stuff. Let's say he's marking over here. He thinks this animal's here. And what we'll do is eventually, when we get all the way around to here, where we're past this guy, then we'll actually confirm whether this was right, and we'll flip this over. We'll go to the app. The app will tell us, hey, okay, so now we've done this. We want to confirm a sighting. And then we'll click on the animal, we'll click on the spot, and then it'll confirm. It'll make a nice little noise that you got it right.
Yeah, and so these research tokens, putting down these sightings, this is an important way to score points because, like we said, at the end of the game, you're going to get points for all of the animals that you have confirmed.
You're going to get
all of the correct. You're going
to also get points for being first,
and you're also going to get points for being the first person to guess it. Yeah, but when you get around the board, when this expedition leader moves, if you're correct, you flip this over. The app tells you you're correct. You might have been the only person to know that information, but now everybody at the table knows for a fact that this animal is here. So
that's how I beat Ryan last night.
You need to balance when you're making these predictions, because you're knowing that you're giving a lot of information out to people. Now, the last action you can do, it costs 5 times. 5 times. Which is a lot. It's a risky action.
It's a risky one.
Is to actually find the animal, to try to find the animal. You're telling the game, I think it's in this spot. Now, it's not just that simple. Just like in Search for Planet X, you need to be able to tell the app which spot the animal is, and also confirm 2 adjacent spots next to it to kind of prove that you've been doing your research. Yeah. If you don't get it, that's fine. You just lost 5 time. Yeah. If you did get it, though, you in the game, you score some points, and everybody else gets one more chance to potentially guess.
Yeah.
Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, well, why not just keep guessing over and over? What does it even matter how much time you're spending on these actions? You're just looping around the board. Well, this has kind of the Takedo effect, as I like to call it, or like patchwork, when whoever is last gets to go until they're caught up. Yep. So it's always the player that's in last place in timer who has used the least time. So when you make some of those big jumps, like the 5 to guess, it's risky because you're potentially giving the next player multiple actions before it's your turn again.
You definitely feel it.
You do definitely feel it. And of course, as you're moving along this expedition leader. He's giving you your town tokens back to let you visit towns again. He's giving you your cameras back so you can use that camera trap action again. And at certain points, he's triggering these expedition conferences.
That give you even more logic numbers, research to kind of decide where things are.
Yeah, so a lot like Search for Planet X.
So you're given a lot more specific information of where the final lost species is. Now, so we talked about locating the guy. So what happens if you locate the actual animal? You're going to score not only points for 12 points for finding the animal, but also people do get an opportunity to place one or more of these tokens and confirm sightings, or depending on their proximity to the player that triggered the end game, they're going to score points. So like I said, you don't have to be the first person to do everything. You could potentially beat the game beat everybody in the game just by confirming a whole bunch of things along the way. And that's what makes this game truly unique and a unique experience for everybody.
Unlike a lot of deduction games, you don't have to figure it out.
I honestly I feel like this is an improvement on not only the system, but it just proves once again that this system is a top tier system for me as far as deduction goes, and that's consistent. I can't hide that. I love Search for Planet X, and I can see myself falling in love with this game.
Hey, so if that seems like a lot, there is a lot going on, but because of this sheet here that lets you put down the research as you discover all the clues, that lets you put down all your notes, that lets you cross off things, it actually starts to come together. Maybe a couple turns in, you start to see how it all works together, even if you've never played Search for Pawn at X.
Yeah.
But if you have played Search for Pawn at X, I think this is the next step.
Yep.
This is the evolution. I saw this board, I was like, okay, how is this going to work, being so different than just analyzing the night sky? But having to actually position yourself around this board, do that boat action and sail around the edge, and also the fact that you can have different lost species. Because Planet X, the rules are always the same. It's like it's adjacent to the same things, whatever. Every game you play, you start to kind of figure that out. But these animals are always something different. They're always a different clue that you'll write down, a different logic rule about finding that animal, and that's very interesting.
So there's a lot of animals that I'm assuming they're going to be adding some depending on funding, how that goes. There's already 2 maps in there, so that's a little bit more than Planet X right there, just that alone, and being able to move around there. We didn't even talk about like adjacency rules and how these things break up. There's a lot to unpack here, and assuming how this game crowdfunds, there may be more in that box. I mean, it's been consistent with Renegade that they do have a lot of things they try to pack in these
I
boxes,
hope so, because I like, and this game, I mean, just like Planet X, like, there's so much replayability because the app is building a different map. You're not choosing from a list and saying, oh, I already know the answer for this particular one. You're never going to play the same total map twice. It's always going to maybe look the same if you're playing on the same side. The mountains are going to be the same place.
The combos are different.
Whatever.
Time,
but the animals are in different spots, which means the logic you have to use to find them is going to be completely different every time as well. And I will say, though, before we go, I love these cards.
Yeah, I love the cards. I love that there's cards in here. And that just gives you another thing to help you with actions.
Yeah.
Like I said, placing sighting tokens out of turn, so you have instant ones and you have abilities that you can get for the whole game. So there's something to that as well. There's just like I said, there's a lot more to unpack here than what you're used to if you are a fan of Search for Planet X. This one gives you more of what you like, and it definitely presents its own uniqueness from that game.
Yeah, if you love deduction games, though, this is definitely one to check out. We talk a lot about like games like Cryptid. This is like the next level.
Yeah,
this is the complex, gamery, super logic heavy Cryptid, and I like that. I like having both of those games for the light experience, and then coming back to the Search series to get that heavier Sudoku-like logic puzzle.
So if you're looking for more information, hopefully give you like everything. We kind of really unpacked
that was a lot,
this. We unpacked a lot of this. It's something, of course, we play last night and just had a heck of a time. But if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below, but there's going to be a lot more information on the crowdfunding page, so please look at that thoroughly. If you have any questions, you can come back to us and we'll answer as best as possible. And with that, party people, we can't tell you what to do with your money, but hopefully informed you today. Thank you for joining us at MVM. Take care.